Where does God live? The Bible has lots of answers, all of them true. When God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, he did so from heaven. You have seen for yourself that I have spoken to you from heaven, he said. Heaven, far above mankind and high in glory, was where God was expected to dwell. When Jesus taught his disciples to pray, he began with the words, Our Father, who art in heaven. God's in his heaven, wherever that may be. God was also encountered on the mountain, Mount Horeb being described as the mountain of God. There Moses met God at the burning bush. He took off his shoes because he was on holy ground. People still meet God on mountains today. They are aware of his presence and still look to the hills, gaining strength from God as they do so. As the Israelites moved among the nations of the Middle East, they took God with them by means of the Ark of the Covenant. The golden lid, the mercy seat, was known as the meeting place with God. When the Ark was lost in battle, the people felt God had left them too. Eventually, the Israelite nation began to settle, and a temple was built in Jerusalem. The Ark was placed in the temple. God was now acknowledged as present in his own house. We still speak of God's house when we enter a church. When Jesus was on earth, he talked to a Samaritan woman who wanted to know where God should be worshipped. He told her it was the spirit in which worship was given that mattered, not the place. God is everywhere. It was a concept the psalmist had declared hundreds of years earlier. Jeremiah had emphasized that when God made a new covenant with his people, his law would be written on their hearts. Incredibly, God's dwelling place would be within humankind. Jesus confirmed this in many ways, especially when he spoke of our being born again, inwardly, by his Spirit. God's indwelling was a concept the Apostle Paul highlighted when the Corinthian church was beginning to become worldly. Don't you know you yourselves are God's temple, and that God's Spirit lives in you, he said. If we are to be God's temple, we must be willing for him to make our hearts fit for his presence. Of all the places God lives, our humble human heart is the most precious. His temple.